Good afternoon and welcome to Spectrum Television News at 12. I am Uyai MM, come to you live from Uyo, the Carbon State's capital. Let's take a look at the headlines. Federal government begins decarbonization of Abuja Airport. INEC National Bureau of Statistics forge partnership on data synergy. Plus, Trump reportedly issues rebuke to Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu over Qatar strikes. We'll bring you the details of these stories in a moment. Stay with us. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. We head to the national scene where the federal government has announced plans to begin the decarbonization of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja. The Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, who announced the plan, said the challenges posed by climate change demand decisive and concerted action by stakeholders to embrace decarbonization. Keyamo, who was represented by the ministry's permanent secretary Ibrahim Kana at a stakeholders engagement on carbon emissions management, suggested the exploration of group electrification of aprons and terminals, sustainable aviation fuel corridors, and waste-to-energy projects to reduce emissions in airport operations. The minister further noted that achieving airport carbon accreditation ACA certification for Abuja Airport would show the world that Nigeria is open to sustainable business. Meanwhile, the federal government, through the National Inland Waterways Authority, NIWA, has banned all unauthorized boat loading points across the country, calling for the passage of the Coastal Guards Bill to enhance water safety and curb boat mishaps. The managing director of NIWA, Bola Oyebamiji, made this known in Abuja to address concerns surrounding boat mishaps. Oyebamiji stated that no commercial passenger boat should be allowed to load from any point other than the recognized and registered point by NIWA. He further reiterated NIWA's commitment to safe waterways, especially through its continuous removal of aquatic waste, logs, wrecks, and other impediments from waterways that could hinder safe navigation. Now on to the Green Chambers. The House of Representatives Committee on Land Transport has given the Minister of Transportation Alkali 48 hours ultimatum to appear before the House to explain circumstances surrounding the recent derailment of a Kaduna-bound train with about 618 passengers on board. The committee frowned at the absence of the minister at the investigative hearing of the derailment of the train. Chairman of the committee, Blessing Honor, said the committee is surprised that the minister chose to turn his back on the parliament at a time Nigerians needed him the most. In another development, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has expressed readiness to collaborate with the National Bureau of Statistics (NBS) to strengthen the collection, management and use of data for the benefit of Nigerians. The chairman of the commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, gave the assurance when he received the Statistician General of the Federation, Adeyemi Adeniro, and his management team during a courtesy visit to the INEC headquarters at Abuja. Professor Yakubu described the meeting, the first between both agencies, as a significant step towards harnessing institutional strength for national development. He noted that while the NBS manages the nation's largest official database on all aspects of national life, INEC maintains the most extensive database of adult citizens for elections, safeguarded by law and in compliance with the National Data Protection Act. Away from that, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede, has assured soldiers of commitment to improving their welfare and working conditions, enabling them to effectively tackle evolving security challenges. He also expressed passion for the education of soldiers, children and wards, disclosing that the Army is investing significant resources to revamp barracks, schools and provide the children with quality education. The COAS gave the assurance during his visit to the 130 Battalion and 341 Artillery Regiment, Ogoja, Cross River State, as part of his assessment tour of Nigerian Army formations and units under the 82 Division Area of Correctional Responsibility. According to the statement by the Army spokesperson Lieutenant Colonel Opolonia Anele, the Army Chief directed the immediate renovation of dilapidated accommodations to improve the living conditions of soldiers and their families. He noted that the recent increase in the ration cash allowance has enabled commanders to provide better feeding for soldiers and therefore expects them to reciprocate by giving their best in their discharge of duty. In a separate development, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project SARAP has urged the Nigerian Senate to immediately reinstate Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan and allow her to resume her legislative duties. This was contained in a statement yesterday. SARAP said the Kogi Central Lawmakers' suspension, which started in March, has ended and should not be extended under any pretext. The organization accused the Senate of using pending court cases as an excuse to bar Akpoti-Uduaghan's return. It warned that such an action undermined the rule of law, stressing that the senator, who had formally notified the clerk of the National Assembly of her intention to resume on September the 4th, must be allowed back to the chamber. Now to the continent of Africa, where African leaders and climate activists have called for a radical shift in global climate financing, urging the world to treat Africa not as a victim of climate change, but as a strategic partner for investment. Meeting at the Second Africa Climate Summit in Addis Ababa, dozens of heads of state and government representatives underscored the urgency of mobilizing resources to fund adaptation and renewable energy projects across the continent. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed opened the summit with a call to replace climate aid with climate investment, emphasizing that Africa's resilience and renewable energy potential offer immense opportunities. The summit comes against the backdrop of worsening climate disasters in Africa, droughts, floods, and food insecurity that have hit communities, especially vulnerable communities. Meanwhile, Ethiopia has inaugurated Africa's largest hydroelectric dam, a $5 billion mega project expected to more than double the nation's power supply. The Grand Renaissance Dam, built on a Nile tributary near the Sudanese border, will generate over 5,000 megawatts, powering homes, businesses, and even the country's growing fleet of electric vehicles. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed hailed the launch as a big achievement, saying the dam shows what Africans can accomplish. Leaders from across the continent lauded the achievement, with South Sudan and Kenya announcing plans to import Ethiopian power. And on the foreign scene, United States President Donald Trump has reportedly issued a rebuke to Benjamin Netanyahu over Israel's strikes against Hamas in Qatar, insisting he played no role in the attack. According to reports, Trump has said that he was not notified in advance of the Israeli attack on the Gulf state, a crucial broker in the negotiations between Israel and Hamas on ending the Gaza war and securing the release of hostages held by Palestinian militants. A statement issued by White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt states that Trump is focused on the possible damage to his efforts to end the war in Gaza. Still on the foreign scene, President Emmanuel Macron has named close ally Sébastien Lecornu as the new French Prime Minister, 24 hours after a vote of confidence ousted Francois Bayrou as head of government. Lecono, 39, has spent the past 3 years as Armed Forces Minister, focusing on France's response to Russia's war in Ukraine. In a statement, the LC Palace said Lecono, the seventh Prime Minister in the Macron presidency, had been given the task of consulting political parties with the aim of adopting France's next budget. His immediate task is tackling France's spiraling public debt, which hits 3.3 trillion euros earlier this year and represents 114% of the country's economic output. Still to come in the news. Ronaldo equals goal record as Portugal beat Hungary in 2026 World Cup qualifiers. Stay tuned for details after the standard. Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. To conclude the news on this hour, in business, the Federal Ministry of Works has adopted a funding prioritization framework to guarantee the continuation of critical road projects earlier financed by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited under the Road Infrastructure Development and Refurbishment Investment Tax Credit Scheme. The Minister of Works, David Umahi, disclosed this during an inspection tour of the dualization of the East-West Road Section 3A from Eleme Junction to One Junction in Rivers State. Umahi explains that the move aligns with President Bola Tinubu's directive that all inherited NNPCL-funded projects must continue without interruption. According to Umahi, the ministry has compiled all projects inherited from NNPCL and submitted them to the President. He stressed that those along national economic corridors, such as the Eleme-One Road, would receive top priority. Still in business, the Nigerian Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, NUPENG, has suspended its strike following an agreement with the management of the Dangote refinery to recognize workers' rights to unionize. The deal was reached at a closed-door meeting convened by the Department of State Services, DSS, and attended by the Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, and representatives of the Nigeria Labour Congress. The acting NLC General Secretary Benson Opa confirmed the outcome, while the Ministry of Labour said it would issue a formal statement soon. According to the Memorandum of Understanding signed at the meeting, both parties agreed that unionization is a right under extant labor laws, and employees of Dangote Refinery and petrochemicals who wish to unionize would be allowed to do so. The MOU further stated that the process of unionization would begin immediately and be completed within 2 weeks. On our health news, the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors will today hold its National Executive Council meeting to determine its next line of action on a pending ultimatum to the federal government. Recall that the association had issued a 10-day ultimatum to relevant government agencies, warning that members would embark on a nationwide strike if their demands were not met. In a communique issued on September the 1st, 2025, and signed by NARD President Dr. Tokbel Shundara, the doctors demanded immediate payment of the outstanding 2025 Medical Residency Training Fund, settlement of 5 months arrears from the 25 to 35% Consolidated Medical Salary Structure Review, and other long-standing salary backlogs. Speaking with newsmen, Shundara stated that the outcome of the NEC meeting would determine the association's next step. Still in health, the federal government has begun the nationwide distribution of essential maternal and child health commodities as part of renewed efforts to reduce maternal and newborn deaths. The distribution was coordinated by the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency in collaboration with development partners in Abuja. Reports say the maternal and neonatal health commodities distributed were worth 2.9 billion naira across 10 states. Speaking at the flag off in Abuja, the Executive Director and Chief Executive Officer of the NPHCDA, Muyi Aina, stressed that the initiative was designed to save lives, close service delivery gaps, and support states in strengthening primary healthcare systems. And now to sports news, where Super Eagles head coach Eric Shaw has said that his side will not give up on their quest to secure a place at the 2026 FIFA World Cup. The three-time African champions suffered a big setback in their bid to make it to the Global Soccer Fiesta after battling to a 1-1 draw with South Africa in Bloemfontein yesterday. Nigeria remained in third position on the Group B log with 11 points from 8 matches. The Super Eagles will need to win their remaining 2 games against Lesotho and Benin Republic to have any chance of picking the World Cup ticket. Shield said they will keep fighting hard until the end despite their precarious position in the group. Still in sports, Cristiano Ronaldo equaled a goal-scoring record as Portugal edged past Hungary in their 2026 World Cup qualifying match. The striker netted for the 39th time in World Cup qualifying matches, making him the joint highest ever scorer alongside Guatemala's Carlos Rios and three ahead of Argentina's Lionel Messi. Ronaldo 40 extended his international record to 141 goals in 223 appearances for Portugal, the most by any male player for the country. His goal at the Pucas Arena yesterday came from the penalty spot in the 58th minute after Hungary forward Barnabas Varga had a 21st minute opener cancelled out by Manchester City midfielder Bernardo Silva 15 minutes later. On our entertainment news, filmmaker Tyler Perry has been reportedly hit with a $260 million sexual assault lawsuit after actor Derek Dixon detailed allegations of harassment and abuse. According to reports, Dixon claimed Perry created a coercive dynamic that blurred professional boundaries and left him fearing for his career. And that's all we have on this particular news bulletin. Do well to follow us on social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtvlive.ng. This has been Spectrum Television News at 12. I am Uyai MM. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. Good afternoon.